consciousness in our ontology, we will have huge disadvantages because it seems it is empirically senseless. It is empirically untractable. It is anomalous part of ontology. It raises problems with mental causation, with nomological dangers, and many other famous problems. And for us, if we want to have naturalistic ontology, it is better to have non-existence of consciousness. It is better. It would make things more simple for us. And some philosophers, given this situation, given that we do not have good grounds for the existence of consciousness, given that there are so many problems with the existence of consciousness, some philosophers proposed a radical view, illusionism. Galen Strawson says that this is the silliest view philosophers have ever come in history of philosophy, to reject the existence of phenomenal consciousness. According to illusionism, there is no what it is likeness, no phenomenal consciousness. It is an illusion. It is a cognitive mistake. There are different arguments for illusionism, but all of them are based in epistemological problems which we have with existence of consciousness. You see the list of this argument. It is not an exhaustive list. Maybe you would like to add some other types of arguments, but for purposes of my presentation, it's enough. So the first two types of arguments, they are kind of weak arguments because they say that it is implausible that consciousness exists, but still it is possible that consciousness could exist. The third type of the arguments, disqualification arguments, they are stronger, much stronger, because they are aimed to show that in the very notion of phenomenal consciousness is incoherent. It is impossible for consciousness to exist at all. And I'm going to focus on the third type of arguments. Disqualification arguments, disqualification is from Dan Dennett's Consciousness Explained. Disqualification arguments are well known, and actually illusionists, they do not have some new types of disqualification arguments. This is the Cartesian theater, coffee tasters, and some empirical cases like change blindness, Anton syndrome, etc. All these arguments, they try to show that there is any knowledge, any direct and infallible access to consciousness. But again, if you have consciousness, you must know that you have consciousness. And if, in this case, your knowledge about your consciousness should be infallible and should be direct. Illusionists try to show that there is no direct access. If there is no direct access to consciousness, there is no consciousness at all. This is the schema of the famous argument coffee tasters. I would like to reformulate this argument for the purposes of my presentation. Imagine today I woke, it is true, I woke up and I like the taste of the coffee so much, I drink the same type type of coffee all of my life, and I like it. But this day, I'm no longer like the taste of my coffee. What has happened to my experience? Does my reactions change? Sorry, do my reactions change to taste of the coffee? Or maybe the quality of the taste changed? Or maybe both changed. The problem is that I could not tell by introspection what happened to my experience. But look, if I have direct access to my consciousness, I should tell. I should tell what's going on in my experience. And coffee tasters case and other cases, they show that there are cases where I can't tell what is going on in my experience. There is no direct access. There is no basis for phenomenal consciousness. This notion is incoherent. I would like to outline 3 implicit assumptions behind such arguments: knowledge assumption, introspection assumption, and conceptualization assumption. All these assumptions are implausible, are highly implausible. We should not take them seriously. Let's start from the knowledge assumption. If you look at the coffee taster's case, you would find out that the concept of knowledge illusionists use in this case is a knowledge indirect, conceptual, causal, and the type of knowledge which could be expressed in judgment. This knowledge, by definition, could not be indirect. And for illusionists, the very notion of direct access, direct knowledge, is senseless. That is why they do not try to use this notion. They start from the specific epistemological point. And their argument is not about consciousness, but about epistemological attitudes. So we do not have direct access to consciousness, not because we do not have consciousness, but because our epistemological attitudes works this way. And if it's true, and I believe this is true, we can generalize coffee tasters' arguments and disqualification arguments to the general scheme. Look at the first sentence. Consciousness does not exist because any knowledge could be only indirect. It sounds ridiculous, but this is what coffee tasters' argument says to us. Generalization. X does not exist because any knowledge could be only indirect. The external world does not exist because any knowledge could be only indirect. I know about chairs, tables, external objects indirectly. And if I accept ontological strategy against phenomenal consciousness and use it against external world, so there is illusionism about the external world. Introspection assumption. In Cartesian theory, Dennett says that if you believe that there is consciousness. It means that there is someone inside you who watch the performance on the stage of the consciousness. And someone inside you has another person inside him or her who watch another stage performance, and etc. This picture of the argument relies on perceptual model of introspection. Realists about consciousness should not accept this model, and most of the philosophers nowadays, and to be honest, I don't know any philosopher of mind who accept perceptual model of introspection. It is highly implausible model of introspection. Thank you, Shoemaker, for showing this result. And one of the problems is self-blindness. What is self-blindness? If you believe in Cartesian theater argument, you believe that there is a causal connection between consciousness and a perceiver, and the subject of consciousness. But causal connection is not a necessary connection. It could not work. And if it's true, it is possible to have consciousness and to not have any knowledge at all about consciousness. It is a paradox. Nobody nowadays accepts such model of introspection. So why realists about consciousness should accept this model? English is not my language. I would prefer to speak Russian. Conceptualization assumption is about that if there are properties of your experiences, there are relevant concepts. There are no properties of experiences without concepts of experiences. And there are at least two objections. First objection is an empirical one. This is a phenomenal overflow. It comes from net block ideas and from recurrent processing theory of Victor Lamé. Phenomenal overflow tells us that our conscious experience is much more rich than our abilities to conceptualize them. The second objection is about our everyday experience. Now you all have, I believe you all have visual experience. And this visual experience is very rich. But the problem is your conceptual attention has bottleneck. It is impossible for you to tell all the details of your conscious experience, of your visual experience right now. But it doesn't follow that these details do not exist. Again, it's ridiculous. So, illusionism is not justified. But as my colleague Evgeny showed yesterday, if illusionism is not justified, it is not enough for the existence of consciousness. Because phenomenal consciousness is not a part of common sense. And that is why we cannot use such direct arguments like the Murian argument for the existence of phenomenal consciousness. It's about two hands. So we kind of try to apply two hands argument to consciousness. My point that the Murian argument could strikes back, and we can pay our attention to another Murian argument from a paper, A Defense of Common Sense. The Murian argument does not prove that there are particular objects, tables, chairs, horses, people, but it proves that there is external world and external objects in general. In defense of common sense, external world defended from the inconsistency of the positions of skeptics and idealists. Illusionists show that in some cases, we are uncertain about the exact content of conscious experience. But there is a difference between conscious events in general and their content. Sometimes it is true, we couldn't tell what is the content of our experience, but it doesn't follow that there are no experiences and conscious events in general. Illusionist arguments presupposes that as skeptics about external worlds, so this is a kind of the same argumentative situation. Illusionist arguments presupposes that there are conscious events, that something is going on, but sometimes we are uncertain what exactly. If, on the basis of illusionist arguments, you still insist that there are no experience, then you must insist that there is no external world, because sometimes you can tell what particular objects there are. So either you accept the existence of consciousness, or you must deny consciousness and external world altogether. Also, in Murian arguments, external objects are not physical objects. The physical, the notion of the physical, is very artificial and is not a part of common sense. The Murian argument proves only the external objects, but not the physical ones. What is the physical? What is phenomenal? Are the matter of technical, philosophical discussions. But there are external objects, there are experiences, and there is a distance between subjects and external objects, but there is no distance between subjects and their experiences. Experiences are not, from this point of view, it is clear, are not external objects. Experiences are intrinsic, and this is the only option. So this is the general schema. I reduce many technical details from my talk. But the conclusion is this: consciousness exists, and it is not physical in the sense of the physical materialistic, in the sense of materialist would accept the notion of the physical. So consciousness exists, and it is not physical. What does it mean for our ontological picture? Should we take substance dualism, property dualism, anomalous monism, panpsychism, heliomorphism, or maybe other options? I don't know. But we have clear ground for existence of consciousness. And for now, my position is quietistic dualism. It means that there are external objects, there are consciousness, experiences, they are different, and this is our basic position in ontology. Thank you so much.
Thank you, آنتون. اگر سوالی هست لطفاً دوستان دست بگیرن. خود آقای دکتر همازاده ممنون میشم.
Thank you, Anton, for a great presentation. I think there is at least one problem with illusionism. They said, okay, all type of phenomenal consciousness is illusion. My experience of happiness, experience of visual perception, experience of pain, all is illusion. Okay, so there is, I think this is the conclusion. There is at least one phenomenal state, the phenomenal illusion. Okay, I have at least one phenomenal state. I am hallucinating pain, hallucinating perception, hallucinating orgasm, and so on. Okay, so I have phenomenal illusion. They tell, it seems that we have phenomenal pain, phenomenal perception. Okay, you are talking about it seemsness. Again, it seems that it seems there are phenomenal states. Okay, I think they have no way to risk from it.
Yeah, this is well-known objection. This is no-gap objection against illusionists, and their point is this. Okay, yeah, there is no difference between seemings of phenomenal consciousness and phenomenal consciousness itself. But their point is that the notion of illusion they use, it is not a perceptual notion. And to be honest, it is not a good term to describe illusionist position. For them, it is better to avoid to use term illusionism, because there are so many confusions, and to use term just cognitive mistakes. So we have phenomenal judgments, and phenomenal judgments, they refer to my objective, physical, internal states, but these internal states lack any phenomenal features. So in these sentences, there is no word of illusion. So they emphasize that they do not use illusion in this way, in perceptual way.
But how they explain the phenomenal state of illusion of whatever you call it? How they explain this state of illusion? I mean, it is an ontological state.
I see.
For subjective experience of.
So for them, illusion is a cognitive state. So illusion is a phenomenal judgments. We have phenomenal judgments, and we believe that phenomenal judgments refer to phenomenal consciousness. This is our mistakes. This is the mistake.
Okay, these mistakes is accommodated by a phenomenal subject state.
They would say that in your argument you presupposes phenomenal consciousness. So they would say you are hard-die believer in phenomenal consciousness, but they are not. They are trying to check the grounds, and they do not see any grounds. This is this is controversial and counterintuitive. They know about it, but they try to find the grounds, and they believe that there are no grounds.
Thank you so much. Is there any question? Okay, Mr. Martsalov? No.
Artem.
Artem خودش, himself has a question or not?
Yeah.
Okay, ask your question.
Well, thank you for the presentation. There was a slide, disadvantages of the existence of consciousness, and you mentioned there 3 points. Consciousness is empirical, intractable. It is anomalous part of ontology, and it is phenomenal properties are nomological danglers. But the points 1 and 3 presuppose some kind of epiphenomenalism of consciousness. I mean that if someone is an interactionist, if someone presupposes that a consciousness plays some role in the natural laws, and that we can empirically discover consciousness. Don't you take this into account? What about this type of views?
So again, your question is whether I'm ready to take epiphenomenalism?
No, my question is whether you consider interactionist theories, because those 2 points, the first and the third, they are not applicable to.
So these points do not reflect my opinion. So these are just widespread points that if there is consciousness, there is nomological danglers. I would, in general, I'm not sure about interactionism. I would say that we should reject causal closure of the physical to the causal closure of the natural. So this is my point. Just to maybe not to shift to interactionism, but to shift to causal closure of the natural.
Thank you. Mr. Abbasi, ask you.
Please, louder.
In the context of illusionism, you're always witnessing some kind of history of science examples, like the coloric theory. Some examples that people at Frank Street really likes it. How would you respond to these kind of examples in the context of your own theory? For example, we thought we have an entity named caloric, and we used it to describe, thermodynamic events that now we believe there is no such a thing at all. How do you respond with your own theory?
Thank you very much, because it would be helpful to emphasize the distinctive feature of my argumentation. Distinctive feature of my argumentation is that if you do not accept the existence of phenomenal consciousness, you should or must accept the non-realist, illusionist view about external world, objects, and so on. So consciousness, from this kind of argument, is not just something like electromagnetism or tables and chairs. It has, according to this argument, exclusive role in our ontology. That is why history of science does not tell us anything about the role of consciousness in ontology in this sense. But of course, you're right. Illusionists, they like to provide some examples from the history of science, how we were mistaken about different things.
Thank you. We have 2 other questions. Mr. with the white shirt, please.
How can we believe?
Please louder.
How can we believe in illusionism without existence of phenomenal consciousness?
So, look, the general idea is the following. we all have computers, phones, so we have nowadays systems of artificial intelligence. Yes? And these systems are nowadays are capable of forming, I would say, introspective reports. So there are many systems which are able to produce introspective reports without any phenomenal consciousness. And their position is that there is consciousness, but it is not phenomenal consciousness. There is only access consciousness. Consciousness is a mechanism of access to internal states, making reports about internal states, and to use it in purposes of global control. So they try to use more neutral account of consciousness. This is kind of relevant to artificial intelligence systems, for example.
But this reading of consciousness based on somehow a logical and mathematical point of view. We have a knowledge about semantics.
They wouldn't say this. They wouldn't say this because they are well aware about computational restrictions, limitations, and problems around the consciousness. And they would, for example, Dan Dennett, he is not a computationalist about consciousness. His position is teleofunctionalism. So he understands consciousness by its biological functions, but not by computations. So consciousness arises from the computational complexity, and maybe we will never know how it arises, and maybe artificial consciousness will be here by coincidence, but not by our rational efforts.
Okay, thank you. There is any question? Okay, Mr. Please.
So my question is, in arguing a case for the existence of consciousness, right? My question, for example, in the coffee tasters argument, which is against the existence of consciousness, right? So I'm trying to ask, all right, is this, and you said it's not persuasive, so I'm going to ask if we can have another argument for that. When you are, for example, wondering about the taste of coffee after drinking it, right? So aren't you thinking about a representation of an experience? So we have the present sense of experience, the presence itself to you, so to say. Okay, so isn't this a problem of representation again? And another point that I would like to add is, in accounts provided by the patient, by schizophrenic patients, right? And I think there might be some similarities with those accounts and the ideas of illusionists, some heightened sense of self, too much introspection, doubting everything and so on. So couldn't we say that this prevalent idea of illusionism is in fact itself a problem of attending to this problem?
I would say it sounds sympathetic for me, and I would say we should be careful about empirical data, but works of Victor Lamé and his recurrent processing theory have shown some grounds that we still have consciousness even though we are not able to introspect it, to make reports. So it is a matter of empirical discussion, but it is plausible. Your first question, I think you are right, and many philosophers stressed this point that actually in coffee tasters case and other cases, we are representing states which happened in the past. And this is again the problem. I agree.
Thank you. I have myself a question. Sorry for the length. My question is about your last slide that describes your final position, that is a quietistic dualism. How can you stay in an inconclusive state? It is absurd for me. What is your intentions for the next steps? What are your positive grounds for your next step in ontology? Thank you.
Okay. First of all, existence of consciousness is a very positive thing. First of all, actually, you're right, and I'm at this moment of my philosophical studies and research uncertain about what the track I should choose, because I have some doubts that usual ways like dualism, physicalism, and other ways, actually I do not understand them at this moment. I can tell to my students what is dualism, what is physicalism, but now I doubt that their positions should be discussable in ontology in general. That's why I need to take a break and think.
That's so virtuous. I think it's so. It shows your humility in the accepting the ideas. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anton.